In today's Leeds news, Byram triggers extension, new youth contracts, Gnonto's next move, Cresswell leaves future, Mourinho wants Rodon, Hay on Liam Cooper offer, and new link to Swiss Playmaker. Morning folks, Cher here, Monday morning the 10th of June with your Leeds United news at The View. I hope you had a really good weekend. There's a plenty to get stuck into, lots of information coming out around the back of the retained list being published on Friday evening, and some news coming out around potential exits and potential incomings for Leeds in the coming weeks. We'll start off around the Sam Byram extension. And when Sam Byram signed for Leeds United this time last year, there were question marks around what kind of value Sam Byram would add to Leeds United in terms of gameplay, given that he had only played a 25% of the available games available to his previous clubs between 2016 and 2023. After now signing an extension to that and playing 33 games for Leeds last season, there is clear core value in Sam Byram, who, outside of playing a lot of games last season, also offers Leeds cover in two positions with right and left back. According to Byram Cross, Sam Byram actually triggered this extension clause by playing a set number of games for Leeds last season. Cross says it remains unclear how many games he had to play to trigger this clause. The new deal was known around inside the club for a matter of months and not weeks. Leeds, for me, will still need to sort out the right back position for next season and bring in a first choice right back, and will need to sort out the future of left back Junior Fripper, who now moves into the final year of his contract at the club. But Sam Byram offers a lot of cover in both of those positions, and given the amount of games he played last season in 33 games, from a bench position and managing the fitness a bit better, he could be available as a covering position for Leeds. For me, it's a sensible extension. He did well last season, scored a couple of goals, played well for us, and if they can manage his fitness the way they managed it this year, he could definitely add some value coming off the bench in the last 15-20 minutes for Leeds, or stepping in and starting matches as and when Leeds need him. So a move that made sense for me, and one that I'm glad to see retained at the club moving into next season. We can't let everybody go and sign 15 new players, so it's important that balance is maintained. As the retained list came out, there were also some news around some new contracts for Leeds United Academy prospects. Joe Richards, Ruben Lapata White, Dan Tolson, Connor Douglas and Marley Wilson have all signed their first professional contracts at Leeds United for next season. The standout names in that list will be Marley Wilson and Ruben Lapata White, who both had very good season under 18 and under 21 level last season, and will probably move into the under 21 setup for next season. So two good ones there, as well as some exciting other young players coming through Leeds at the moment. Moving on to the future of Willy Gnonto, and a summer of uncertainty around the Italian's future is likely to dominate most of the rumours for the next couple of months up until it gets resolved. But according to reports from Italian outlet Calcio Mercato, Gnonto is keen to swap the championship for Serie A next season. Gnonto wants a return to Italy in order to put himself back in the picture for Luciano Spalletti's Italian national side after missing out on their squad for the Euros this summer. AC Milan, Inter Milan, Roma and Everton are all said to be clubs that are carefully monitoring the situation of Gnonto, although it should be said, given Everton's financial situation and the need to sell somebody before the 30th of June PSR deadline, it remains to be seen what they can do before that date, and they may need to wait until the next set of PSR starts in July. However, Inter Milan are said to be interested in a £4 million move for the player, which is about £26 million below Leeds' valuation of him, which might rule Inter out of any kind of a move. But there is said to be some interest in Italy, not a lot of money there, so he might not be able to dominate the move that he wants to get, and he may end up going where Leeds need him to go in order to bring in some money, should he go at all. Moving on to another player who may find his future away from Leeds United this summer, and that is the future around Charlie Cresswell. According to Sun journalist Alan Nixon, he claims that German sides Hannover 96 and Hertha Berlin, along with French side Toulouse and English Championship side Coventry, are all said to be interested in Leeds centre-back Charlie Cresswell. Cresswell played little to no football last season, which was a surprise to most people. Social media comments by his father seemed to cause a rift between Cresswell and Daniel Farke, along with the player approaching Farke around getting more minutes, led to Cresswell being removed from the Leeds United squad for a small period of time before getting back in, but not making any real appearances in the second half of the season. Cresswell signed a new 5-year deal at this time last summer and took up the number 5 shirt at Leeds, which is a far contrast from what he faces into this summer at Leeds. Reports from Nixon say a fee of anything between £3 and £4 million could be enough to get Charlie Cresswell on a permanent move should he move away from Leeds this summer. It's a strange one for me, and the desire to sell Cresswell is the one that gets me, and I'm surprised at this. For me, Charlie Cresswell's got 4 years remaining on a 5-year deal. He's a good age. Why not loan him out to any of these clubs along with a loan fee? Have a look at him over the season. Put an option in there if you want an option in. But give yourself the opportunity to see if this player develops over the course of a season, getting regular minutes, which I believe he would do. And then bring him back to Leeds should you need him there, but give him game time next season. You look at Liam Kitching at Coventry, a player Leeds released down to divisions and was one of the standout defenders in the Championship last season. You look at Leif Davis at Ipswich as well, where Leeds let go for £1 million. So for me, if you've got an option to sell Cresswell out on loan for a year if he's not going to play, sell him out on loan, take the time to consider it. Put an option in there if you want to sell, depending on certain circumstances you can do that, but you're in control of that. And maybe even the minimum increases value from 3 or 4 million to a higher fee after having a very good time at Millwall the year before last. But we'll have to wait and see what happens in that situation. But a surprising one for me, giving a permanent move and not a loan option. But that's my thoughts. Moving on to other centre-backs at Leeds United whose future at Leeds is uncertain, and that's around the future of Joe Rodon. New Fenerbahce manager Jose Mourinho is said to be keen on reconnecting with Joe Rodon. Jose Mourinho brought Joe Rodon into Spurs for £11 million when he was the manager of Spurs, and according to reports coming out of Turkey, he may be interested in bringing the player to Turkey to reconnect with him again after a successful season for Leeds United in the Championship. The new Fenerbahce boss may stand in Leeds' way of bringing Rodon back to Leeds this summer. Spurs did activate a 1-year extension in Joe Rodon's contract in an attempt to bring in some additional revenue for the player beyond the final year of a contract and force some form of a revenue to come into the club for the player. There is said to be interest in Joe Rodon outside of Leeds, but Leeds will be the player's preferred destination from what we've heard, and Leeds are very keen on bringing the player in as well. But a move to Fenerbahce and under Jose Mourinho might be something that tempts Joe Rodon into considering that, but we'll have to wait and see. He had a very successful season at Leeds, and now Spurs look to cash in on that season by getting the best move for them possible. Other centre-backs to the club that were retained in the retained list were Liam Cooper, and there were a lot of reactions to this. Liam Cooper was one of the surprise names on the list of retained players, although it should be pointed out at this stage that a contract has been offered to Shackleton and Cooper. They have not been accepted yet, and they are very much just an offer at this stage. Speaking on the Square Ball podcast, Phil Hay said that people he'd spoken to within Leeds said that the situation was still very much up in the air, but that the expectation at the end of the season was that Liam Cooper would depart the club. Given the experience that he has and the young age of the Leeds United squad, and that Leeds have remained in the Championship, it's understandable Daniel Farke might want a couple of more mature heads around the dressing room. A lot of players called Liam Cooper out last season as a player that they looked up to and helped them over the course of the season. However, whether Liam Cooper wants to maintain a cheerleading role for Leeds next season or go and play football at a point in his career where you would imagine he would want to be playing as much football as he possibly can. Phil Hay said that there is interest in Liam Cooper in the Championship, and there are other offers on the table for Cooper, so we'll have to wait and see if he does accept an offer at Leeds. The player did say at the club that he wanted to stay, but that might change now, if depending on the offer that Leeds have given them, which you would imagine would be reduced terms and no guarantee of game time. There are people asking whether Cooper stands in the way of other players. I think that was made pretty clear last year when Leeds moved Ethan Ampadu from midfield into the left centre-back position rather than playing Liam Cooper in what is his natural position in the team. I don't think he's getting in anybody's way. I think if Leeds have better players to play him ahead of them, I think what Liam Cooper adds to the dressing room is experience and advice, and Daniel Farke would like that around the squad. Whether the player himself wants to fill that role remains to be seen. We'll find out in the next couple of days and weeks. But it should also be said that at this point last season, Joel Robles and Adam Forshaw were both offered opportunities to come back to Leeds in the summer and train with the club in order to secure a new deal. The club, both those players thought about it for a few weeks and then ultimately declined those offers and moved to other clubs. That could still happen with the likes of Cooper and Shackleton. And then moving into the final story of today, into the rumour mill territory for the only incoming player linked with Leeds today. And reports over the weekend have popped up linking Leeds with a move for Reggiana's Swiss playmaker Nathan Girma after he had an impressive season for the club at Serie B. Watford are also said to be interested in a move for the 22-year-old playmaker and are said to have already made contact with the player. The 6'3" attacking midfielder had scored 9 goals and assists for Reggiana in 29 games in Serie B last season. There's also surprise interest in the MLS from David Beckham's Inter Miami side, and according to Italian outlet TMW, they report that in May that Beckham had talks with the player about a possible move to the MLS. However, today, according to Il Resto del Carolino in Italy, they claim that Monza are also another club interested in the player, but that they would have competition from Leeds United, who they claim have already opened talks with the players' representatives about a potential move to Elland Road, and a fee of between £2.5 and £3 million could be enough to bring in the number 10 to the club in a position that Leeds will want to add cover or at least competition for next season. With the likes of Somerville and Gnonto possibly moving on, there is the opportunities for Jorginho Rutter to move out into a wide position where he is more naturally played and free up that number 10 role for another attacker to come in there, but we will wait and see if there is any meat on the bones of that over the next coming days. Folks, that's going to be it for me today. Massive thanks as always. You can check out last week's podcast down below. I'll be back tomorrow morning for more Leeds news. Have a cracking rest of your day, and I'll talk to you then. See you. Bye.